Now let me tell you something, Young Justice was one of my absolute favorite DC shows growing up. Justice League Unlimited in the first 2 seasons of Young Justice I think really solidified my stance as a DC fan, introducing me to a plethora of characters and concepts of the wider DC Comics universe. These include characters like The Question, Huntress, Blue Beetle, Green Arrow, Black Canary, Miss Martian, Superboy, the list just goes on and on. The first 2 seasons of Young Justice that aired on Cartoon Network really resonated with fans alike, and in my opinion was a part of the golden era of DC animation in the 2010s, alongside the banger animated movies that were coming out at the time. The storytelling was just on another level with how the writers were able to elevate these young heroes without them getting overshadowed by the heavy hitters in the Justice League. This show was unfortunately cancelled after season 2 aired in 2013, but even back then I still remember the huge fan campaigns for them to revive Young Justice since the show was so beloved by many. And with the DC Universe streaming service that launched in 2018, they finally brought back the show with season 3, Young Justice Outsiders, with season 4 then airing on HBO Max a few years later. Unfortunately, I feel this was sort of the downfall of the show's quality overall, and it kind of fell off from here. Don't get me wrong, the show never became bad or anything. I feel as if seasons 3 and 4 just didn't live up to the quality of the first 2 seasons. There were problems in lack of focus and pacing that sort of grew worse as time went on. I promise I actually like DC. I know the titles of my videos say otherwise, but I actually like this IP, you gotta believe me. At least when they're not producing garbage left and right anyway. The first season did a really good job in emphasizing its core cast. They had a set of main characters that remained the center focus throughout the season. As you saw them grow, you learned more about them, their desires, any insecurities or inner demons they'd face on a regular basis. You were able to connect with the characters like Robin, Kid Flash, Miss Martian, Artemis, and Superboy. They were the A-team. It also established some pretty decent world building, shedding light on the wider DC universe in or outside of the Justice League. Any overarching narratives were actually built up gradually and paid off at the end. That Red Arrow mole reveal had me shook when I first saw it.
I was the mole? Yes. Yes, you were.
Yes, she went to shot. Oh, DD. Oh, what it is. Oh, DD. What it is.
Going into season 2, the 5-year time skip I know left a bad taste in people's mouth, which is fair since there was so much character development done off screen and so many new characters introduced. Season 1 had a 13-year-old Dick Grayson as Robin. Now he's Nightwing and fully competent as a leader, while Tim Drake wears the Robin mantle.
Dick Grayson, Tim Drake, Garfield Logan.
Your name's Tim? And yours is Dick?
Despite that, I still think the season was pretty solid in its overarching narrative, with the Reach plot having Jaime Reyes' Blue Beetle be the center of it all, with the Reach's goal in wanting to take over planet Earth. After the show's long hiatus, it finally came back with season 3. Imagine you waited years for Young Justice to return, wanting to see some of your favorites come back like Nightwing, Superboy, Artemis, maybe even hoping Wally West might come back after the end of season 2.
Oh man, Artemis is so gonna kill me for this. And don't even get me started on Mom and Dad. Just tell them, okay?
Kid!
Where's Wally?
He wanted me to tell you he loved you.
You waited all this time, and instead of the first half of the season focusing on the core cast of season 1 or building off the vast roster of new characters that were introduced in season 2, they spent several episodes giving screen time to Halo, Forager, and Breon, aka Geoforce.
Geoforce, did you see? I'm getting very good at not falling.
Who the fuck are you? Who the fuck are you?
Like, bruh, I cannot stand this dude Forager and the way he talks. Forager this, Forager, like, you're such a...
Forager is very pleasant to Forager.
Forager has a way of saying exactly
What Forager was thinking.
Fuck up. Shut the fuck
My problem with this is that there were so many characters that were introduced in season 2 that didn't have a whole lot to do, so this was the opportunity to give them the season 1 treatment in getting to learn more about them and connect with them like we did with the season 1 cast. Apparently there's a relationship between Cassie Sands, Mark Wonder Girl, and Tim Drake and Robin, but that's barely explored upon. I'm trying to see more of Blue Beetle, Static, and Bart Allen. They don't get any primary focus until the second half of season 3. The 2 halves of season 3 are kind of weird because you have emphasis on the new outsiders like team with Breon, Halo, and Forager and their connection with Nightwing, but so much time is given to them over the characters brought in season 2. With that, you also have some focus on Black Lightning and how he deals with the threat of metahuman trafficking.
Go ahead, zap me! Absorbing lightning's totally my thing.
You've never had Black Lightning before. What do you mean by that?
Instead of showing me more of Tim Drake's character or more of Bart Allen taking up the mantle of Kid Flash after the death of Wally, let's spend more time in season 4 on Forager's uninteresting romance with another Forager-like character, and Halo/Violet's struggle with identity. Like, bruh.
My God, bro, nobody cares. I don't care. Bro, you think somebody cares?
Beast Boy literally formed his own team as public leader with the season 2 roster of young heroes, but like, why wasn't that the whole season? Instead of introducing new characters no one asked for, you could have had the actual Outsiders team take up the first half of season 3 as well. To make matters even worse, they introduced numerous characters in the background like Stephanie Brown's Spoiler and Cassandra Cain as Orphan as members of Batman's secret Black Ops group. They really don't do anything, and Cassandra doesn't even get an arc until season 4. The inclusion of Batman Incorporated was kind of odd to me. Now, I'm not saying this as a, oh, Batman fan wants more Batman crap in a Young Justice show. They went out of their way to have Batman and several other members formally resign from the Justice League to form another covert group to tackle missions without public attention. And you would think that would have some significance, but like, it barely does. I'd rather see more of that than Halo and Forager. You introduce such an interesting concept, so I expect you to shed some light on said concept with more screen time given to those characters. There were just so many different characters that the season focused on that it became a bit unorthodox in who the main players were. There were so many different groups or teams across the latest 2 seasons alone. There's the main team, or the Young Justice team I guess, the Justice League, the Bat Family, which then turned into Batman Incorporated, villain groups like the League of Shadows and the Light, Nightwing's team in the first half of season 3, then you have Beast Boy's team of Outsiders. Like, what's going on? There's also the issue where writers bring in multiple smaller plot threads that would lead to something bigger, but they don't do anything with it. A good example of this is when you see Jason Todd under control of the League of Assassins in season 3. You're like, oh damn, I wonder what they're gonna do with that storyline. You even see Damian Wayne as a baby, but you see those characters like twice across both seasons with no significant follow-up on how that'll tie into the grand plot of the show. The end of season 4 teased more of Darkseid and Granny Goodness's evil team of baddies, which includes the introduction of Kara Zor-El, Big Barda, and Zatanna's former student who turned bad. But this is literally a post-credit scene in the season 4 finale, and they probably won't make a season 5, so that's yet another unresolved plot thread to add to the list. Young Justice Phantoms, or season 4, had the promise of actually focusing on the OG cast of characters, with the season having arcs centering around each character that was still around. First arc centered around Miss Martian and Superboy, which led to Superboy's supposed death. Obviously, he wasn't actually dead, he was just trapped in the Phantom Zone for like the entire season, in which you see him interact with General Zod throughout the course of multiple episodes, leading up to a big confrontation once they both actually get out of the Phantom Zone. There's an arc about Zatanna, one with Artemis, along with Cassandra Cain and her connection to Lady Shiva. There's one with Rocket on New Genesis, one centered on Aqualad, or I guess Aquaman now. But there's one giant problem, or at least one of the few issues I had with the season as a whole. Where the hell is the Nightwing content at? Nightwing doesn't even do anything of importance or have any good screen time until the final few episodes of the season, but he's not even the center focus of that arc. It's about stopping Zod and the cast of characters who are shown throughout the season, teaming up to stop Zod's evil plan. Bro's in the poster, the intro, and everything. He didn't get jacked. My boy Richard has been a main player since day 1. What the hell is this nonsense? I'm not trying to sound like a greedy fanboy or anything. I just want to see some more dick, that's all. Hey, yo! You would think that Vandal Savage and the Light would be the primary antagonist all throughout the course of the show, since they were set up in season 1, and I guess that's still kind of the case, but they keep introducing so many new villains and plot threads that it's easy to almost forget, like, oh yeah, the Light is still planning something devious in the background. Season 4 has such a heavy focus on Zod, it's like, damn, whatever happened to Darkseid and Apokolips with the Light? The animation in later seasons definitely didn't improve, to say the least. Many flashbacks, for example, about Vandal Savage or Drew Zod would just be still images like it's a freaking slideshow presentation or something. It may seem nitpicky or not worthy to complain about, but when you nearly have an entire episode dedicated to the backstory of Vandal Savage and it's looking like this, yeah, it gets annoying to look at real fast. The animation in general just isn't as smooth as the first 2 seasons. It's a bit more stiff and rigid, and they introduce even more characters into the mix, like a few Legion of Superhero members from the future, a few of Zatanna's students. Hell, in season 3 they introduced Cyborg with him being fused with a mother box, but bro is non-existent in season 4 to my knowledge. And then you have General Zod as the main threat. I don't think Young Justice seasons 3 and 4 are bad or unwatchable. They still have enjoyable moments, and I think it's serviceable. It's just a massive step down in quality in terms of storytelling, pacing, character writing, and even animation. The show just became way too bloated over time and lost focus with shifting narratives every other episode. It would have been better to give light to an established set of characters that the audience already has an attachment to, instead of just introducing new character after new character after new plot point after new plot point. The writers had so many cool ideas that could work on their own, but kind of crammed it all into one season, while simultaneously setting up more future characters and plot elements. You could honestly have an entire spin-off just based on Batman Incorporated or The Outsiders, which probably would have worked to the show's benefit. I wouldn't mind a season 5, but it feels as if the show gets worse with every new season, so who knows if that's even the right move at this point.